Yeah, I want to talk to you today about the internet, YouTube, death scrolling. There is one thing good about the internet and YouTube. Between the two, you can figure out something that you did as a child, and anyone you mention it to, they don't know what the hell you're talking about. Now, uh, the first thing is tinkling. Tinkling, Tinkling. The hip hoppers are actually tinkling now. Okay, now I grew up in the town of North Arlington, outside of New York City, and between Newark. It was between two cities, and it was the suburbs. And it was a very small town, 1 square mile. Most of it was meadowlands, garbage dump, and a cemetery. There was only 2,000 families in the entire town. So our teachers were had basically had friends. So a lot of the teachers were, say, from Hoboken or Jersey City, and they had friends from New York City. And they had some progressive things that they used to show us or teach us that you're not going to find out in a Pennsylvania school or Ohio school. And they would teach you these things, and then you move somewhere else, or you're talking to someone from somewhere else in the country, and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? But in other words, we did loan amortizations in sixth grade. They explain you buying a house, buying it on time. Basically, you pay 3 times more than what the house cost you, and they explain it all to you. And people I meet from other countries, other states, never got that training. Here's why: I was near New York City, and the teachers were more progressive. They had progressive friends. So our music book that we had, we knew down in the valley those songs, but we also had this book of foreign songs, but they were, with American, with English words, and one of them was "Bossy Down Miss Mary." "Bossy down Miss Mary, bossy down, bossy in the morning, bossy down." Now, years later, I mentioned that to a kid, and he goes, "Yeah, I sort of remember that song. I couldn't find it." Well, I think it's like one from the islands. And I went looking, and one day I found it. And then I found the book that they were teaching us these songs. Now, one of them, I can't remember what it was, I, yicky, I, Amos, I, but it was done with tinkling. And tinkling is two long bamboo poles, and they clock them on the ground, and you have to dance between them. Look up tinkling. We did tinkling in my school, okay? And the counterpart of it was the bagel, okay? And what's the bagel? Okay, the bagel was a rim of a doll carriage wheel on a rope, and the teacher would swing it around his body and cause it to fly around just above the floor or on the floor in gym, and you had to jump over it as it came around. And the guy would transfer it to make it go around a circle. He transferred this big knot from one hand to the other, and that was called the bagel. And the game was who could stay in the longest, and he would raise the height of the bagel as it went around. But growing up in a neighborhood that basically had Jewish people, so we had bagel stores. Before it became popular, we had bagels, and that's what the teacher called this thing. And it was the bagel toy. Well, you're not going to find that anywhere. That was something he found out from somebody else, and that was the entertainment inside the school. We had a little tiny boys and girls room, and had a polished floor, asbestos floor, and we used to jump over the bagel, and that was a big thing for him to bring that out and let us do that. Okay, so with the internet, anytime I have an old memory, I can go look for it, and it usually ends up on YouTube or somewhere else on the internet, like the Bossé Down. I actually found the music book we had, and it's like songs from around the world, okay? And each one of the songs we learned uh, basically had something to do with another country. And then because we had a lot of Jewish kids, I'll say 8 kids out of 30 in my grammar school, in my class, we would learn, "Lo, we walk a narrow way, far from light and far from day," whatever the song was, okay? It's basically, I think, the theme song on shortwave. It used to be for Israel. So we had a thing where we had to go and sing at Carnegie Hall. There were kids from all different countries and stuff, and we had to sing. I probably have to think about the song we had to sing. But they made up this song, and they gave the music to all the teachers in New York City and New Jersey, and different classes were invited there to sing this song. And they had a microphone hanging off the ceiling, and you had to sing into the microphone. And it was a crowd of kids, all, you know, they blow the little thing to get you in tune, and we had to sing this song. And that was we had to practice for weeks to go to Carnegie Hall to sing that song. And I guess they were going to then send that song as a record or something around the world. There was all this stuff that I tell people here about it. They just look at me like I have two heads. But getting back to YouTube, the internet, anytime I get an idea, like you're sitting there and you think about different cartoons you saw as a kid, and some of them were very obscure. There's still one more I have to locate, and there were serials. Okay, now we had Crusader Rabbit. Okay, and then the more obscure one that I thought about, and I kept thinking about this one scene, and it came from The Merry Mailman. At lunchtime, we would go home for lunch from grammar school. We'd run home. Everybody in the class would watch The Merry Mailman while they were eating their lunch. And the Merry Mailman had on Rocky and Bullwinkle, Mr. Peabody, and the Wayback Machine, and some other stuff. But it was going to premiere this new thing. And just the other day, I finally found it. It was The New Adventures of Pinocchio. And it's a serial. Each episode is 5 minutes long. Now, on YouTube, New Adventures of Pinocchio, Duck Luck is the episode. Now, we all ran home and we watched an episode. And it's Pinocchio, a cricket. It's not the Walt Disney one. And they're on a train, and the train can talk just like Thomas the Train. And I remember they're going around in a circle. And the first couple episodes, go look at Duck Luck. You'll see one part of it where the scenery is spinning on either side of the train. The train's not actually moving. And we watched it the first 2 days or 3 days. And it's a 12-part episode, a serial. And each day, part of it is the intro about him having his strings cut, and he can fly, but he can't tell a lie. So most of the first 30 seconds is the intro. So now they only got 4.5 minutes left. And all this was made for television so they could have commercials. Say they give you a crappy little tune. But this guy went on that made The New Adventures of Pinocchio. And if you go watch it, he went on to do the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Here comes a spider. You know, I can't tell you how many times I've done a video and some kind of spider or rat or frickin', anyway, happens a lot. So anyway, the guy who did Rudolph the Red-Nosed, the animated series, like action figures, was it stop motion? That's the guy that did the Rudolph. So I'm looking for this thing, and I see a picture, and I said, that's the train. And then I could see the cricket, and I said, this is it. So I go and I find the only available of that series is Duck Luck. Oh, here's another bug here. Okay, so I finally found it. Now, I have one more left. It was a serial on Terrytoon Circus at night, Claude Kirshner with Clowny, and it was about this boy that there in the forest there was a gazelle or a deer, and when it would leap, gold coins would come out. So the little boy took his gold coins, and I guess he gave them to the king, and the king said, I'll keep them for storage for you. And he put him in with his gold coins, and then he tricked the kid saying, I don't know which ones are your coins. But anyway, as a kid, you're like, what a rotten thing to do. And I'll never forget that. I was sitting, my father goes, they're just trying to teach you, don't trust other people with your money. And that's what the moral of this thing was. But I remember it, and I haven't been able to find that cartoon. But I found them all now, thanks to YouTube and the internet. But, you know, the tinkling, you know, I kept saying that the people that actually dance the tinkling had no clue what the hell I was talking about. And I'm like, you've danced it in gym class. And they're like, I don't remember, because I didn't have the coordination. The girls that could do jump rope could do the tinkling. Okay. And they were 2 or 3 years ahead of me. The ones that were in the show. We went up to the school, me and my mother, me, and my neighbor across the street. And they went up to see, they used to put on shows outside, like gymnastic shows on the grammar school. And the parents would come up and stand and watch the kids do it. And they were doing tinkling. And it was I, yicky, I, Amos, I. So it's probably most likely Filipino. I haven't found that exact song, but that's probably from the songbook. And it teaches you how to say those words. And it also shows you the bamboo sticks. And like I said, you go look at tinkling and you'll see that the chunk, 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 chunk. Almost like when you see it done, you almost think about Queen, their song, okay? And that's when I was a kid and I heard the Queen song, you know, We Are the Champions. The first time I heard that chunk, 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 I said, wait a minute, that's like that dance movement. And then I started asking people, and they had no clue what I was talking about. But thanks to the internet and thanks to the YouTube, I get these thoughts out of my head, all right? And that train that's just going along, and you got to see it. The sides of the track are like a mountain, and they're on a big circle, and they're just spinning. And then we watched it. We ran home. We watched it. We come back the first day, and it was like no real decision yet. You know, the train's driving along. You got the cricket, and you got the Pinocchio, and the train talks, and then a hobo shows up. I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's called Duck Luck. And notice where the cricket ties a rope to the hobo's leg, and then throws it out of the train up to a pole and gets rid of the hobo. Yeah, that's the stuff you want kids watching nowadays. But it's funny stuff, and they catered to us. I told you once before, the baby boomers, you know, like the kids nowadays, they're in their cell phones all the time. We were mindless too, okay? We had television programs designed just so when we came home at lunchtime, it was on Channel 11. The Merry Mailman, Ray Heatherton, Joey Heatherton, that's her father, okay? And we'd come home at lunchtime, and he would sell us Coco Marsh, or there was Coco Marsh, and there was Coco Marsh, and the other one. Now I can't. Nestle's Quick, okay? Or they would sell us Remco toys, Mattel toys, okay? So the commercials were for local stores, food stores, and that, and because they knew the parents were watching along with us. But once if you had to stay home sick, your Merry Mailman would come on, and then right after that, that channel would switch to an old movie of some sort. So they were only putting that program on because they knew that's when the kids were home for lunch. All right, and the same with in the morning, My Little Margie, Topper, My Little Margie. Secretary, my private secretary was on there. Oh, Susanna, which was the same girl that did the My Little Margie. And some of the shows got renamed. On the weekends, it was Flicka, Brave Stallion, same program. They changed the names for syndication. They made programs specifically for my generation. I could tell you the Whirlybirds, that was franchised. It was for independent networks. It's Whirlybirds, Rescue 8, and Ripcord, okay? They were made to be syndicated. And they were making these things and to see if it catches on. The Sky King and all that, that was a regular thing, okay? And the Lone Ranger, regular thing. But Rescue 8, Rescue 8, the Ripcord, and the Whirlybirds, that was like a test thing. They did like 15 episodes of each. And in Ripcord, what's really interesting, one of the guys in there becomes Festus on Gunsmoke. But anyway, enough with the trivia. But every so often, you know, you're sitting there, and if you go read the comments under these videos and stuff on YouTube, someone says, this stupid song has been in my head for years, like the Merry Mailman. I won't sing it for you because you might already know it. But other people in other parts of the country, they didn't have these programs. Okay, I don't know. They had their local puppeteers and stuff just like we did. But I guess their market was smaller and they couldn't afford some of these syndication programs that we have. But I can't tell you, there was going to be a new program on Merry Mailman. He told us all about it. We ran home, and the first day, the train is just going around in a circle. And after a few minutes of watching it, you realize the scenery is just spinning on each side of the train. And you're like, this ain't that great. Well, maybe next episode. The next episode, now they're going around backwards. And you only can see one part of this is Duck Luck, but it was serialized. And in later ones, they gave us at 4 o'clock where the old Flash Gordon and Commander Cody, and these were the ones you went to the theater to see. And they would next week you would see the next episode. And they were running them on TV when I was a kid. Now, if I want to watch Commander Cody or Flash Gordon episodes, I just go on YouTube and it's there. It's all there. Bullwinkle and Rocky. Okay. The other thing too was they had preview shows for the coming fall on like Channel 5. And Channel 5 was just a local channel, but they were buying this syndicated stuff. And they ran, at that time, I think it was the Officer Joe Bolton was running Dick Tracy and that. And they run previews of what you're going to see in the future. Dick Tracy's probably the worst. Dick Tracy, the go mess. Dick, and in a Spanish accent. You couldn't do it nowadays. You get people all upset. But anyway, you had the mole and well, anyway, go watch some of the stuff I had to watch, and it's funny. But anything I can think of, I can find. I got that last cartoon now to locate, and I know I'll be able to get it. It's just a matter of keywords, and then somebody asking the question. Someone say, "Oh yeah, it was called this," and then you find it. But as far as like Claude Kirshner, okay. He was in East Coast, a ringmaster at one time. Then Terratoon Circus got downsized, and it was on at night from 7 to 7:30. And he'd say at the end, "It's time for most of you to go to bed." And they made me go to bed. I don't know how old I was until I realized I shouldn't be going to bed at 7:30. But my parents were like, "We got him out of the way." But it's funny when you look back. Any memory that you can come up with, you can find somebody on the internet has mentioned it, and some of the stuff's really obscure. Okay, it might have ran one season. I remember some of the other ones as I got older. You would click the TV on, maybe a day you weren't working on a Saturday, and you realize it was no longer for your age group. It's sort of, a part of you actually dies. Okay, let me put it that way, because in the morning we're like Topper. These were TV shows that ran at night, and now they're in reruns. So Topper, My Little Margie, Oh Susanna, she was on the cruise ship. Let me think of some of the other ones. The Little Rascals, that ran in the theaters way back in the 20s and the 30s, and they ran those a lot, okay? And the real obscure one was Billy Bang Bang and his Wild Western movies. Now, I had a real smart friend. He just died, too, on me. The next block up from me, he would watch Tommy 7 with the push cart loaded with fun. And what it was is when he would rotate it, a projector would come up, he'd turn it on, and then the projector would make noise. It would shoot the beam onto a wall, and all of a sudden you're in a serial called Billy Bang Bang and his Wild Western movies. Now, what it was it was a bunch of, it was a Western movie that I think it was supposed to be serialized, and they put these two little kids' voices over it, and they're talking about the Western as it's rolling. And it's one of those Westerns where every 4.5 minutes they're fighting, okay, or shooting out. And that's the way the serials run. They have a lot of action, and they hold you over to the next day. But he kept saying, "Oh, you got to watch this. You got to watch." So I watched it, and then years later, I could find no mention of it. I found an obscure mention of its theme song was East Side, West Side, all around the town. The kids watch Tommy 7. He's the favorite TV clown. So that's in your head. And you're singing it to people, and they're like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I had this really good memory, and I even know who told me to watch the program. I walked to school with this one kid, and he was a thug wannabe. I'm not kidding. I actually know his name. I would say it, but anyway, he watched Top Cat, and he watched it for the dynamic where Top Cat was always in charge of everybody. I was watching it for the the officer, whatever the officer's name was, interaction. It wasn't a favorite program of mine, but he was like really into it because he wanted to be the gangster that told other people. And he sort of worked to those ends. That's funny stuff. But I just wanted to tell you, you know, almost anything you can remember from your childhood, if you can actually figure out the keywords, find it on the internet first, and then damn, if down below you don't see a video you can click on it. Someone else figured out what it was called, located it, and ran it. Okay, because there are episodes of things like pluck your magic twanger, Froggy. That was a thing. Even into high school, you'd be doing something, and someone would say, pluck your magic twanger, Froggy, and that was Andy Devine, and it was called Andy's Club, or anyway, I really couldn't get that station. It was on Channel 7. Couldn't get that station really clear. It would always roll and buzz. But the other kids watched it, and then there was another one there. Oh, Bozo was on, Bozo the Clown. It was actually a franchise. Each city had their own Bozo. And we had the original Bozo because we were in New York, okay? Or near New York. And supposedly one of the kids pointed to his penis and says, right here, Bozo. So in school, a lot of people, when they get upset, they point to their penis and go, right here, Bozo. They do stuff like that. And it's funny stuff. And over the years, you'd be at a dinner, like a graduation dinner from high school. And I should tell you the kid's name. I got to think of his name. Noble, Richard Noble. He turns and he goes, don't drink the milk. And I go, why? It's spoiled. And that's from the Little Rascals. They spill the milk that they're milking from a cow and it gets knocked over. So they take plaster of Paris and mix it with the water to make milk. And they get mush that's rock hard because it's plaster of Paris. And they don't like mush. And then the rich guy, the guy that runs the old age or the orphans home, he gets a big pension and he promises the kids. So he takes them to a dinner and he doesn't know French. So he orders something on the menu. He ends up getting mush in French. He picks it. And then when the mush shows up, the kids were all expecting meat or potatoes or whatever. And they end up throwing the mush at the French guy. I think that episode probably wouldn't be on television now because he's French. You're not allowed to throw mush. Oui, all the children have mush. I know some of the words of these things. You know, you grow up with them, and it was really nice when you get older, and you would turn those channels on, and the stuff would still be there as a kid. You know, you're having a bad day, you're older, and you sit down for a while, and you throw the channel on, you have a few laughs, and then when I worked in RCA, we had televisions on all over the place, and because we were testing tubes, and some tubes had to be in an actual TV. So you have a bay after bay of television. And this guy, Joe Toran, he's deceased now. He put the Little Rascals on in the morning, and it was crystal clear, man. I used to sit there amazed because the channels at my house were really shadowy and lots of noise. But the RCA, we were up on the hill. We were in Harrison, and we could actually see the transmitter. And it was crystal clear. And at that time, they had restored a lot of the films, and they were clear. And he'd watch the Little Rascals every day. And he also watched The Magic Garden. I believe it was the two girls that sing. And they tour the country. They're older now, of course, but they tour the country for people that want to go and relive those days of watching The Magic Garden. And he put The Magic Garden on every day at lunchtime. And he'd sit there and he'd eat his food watching The Magic Garden. It was pretty funny stuff. And that was, you know, that put that memory in my head. So I keyed it in and right away it comes up. You know, you can actually watch episodes of The Magic Garden on YouTube. But the only thing left now is that that serial, a cartoon, where the kid, if the thing leaped, gold coins would come from. I have to go find that. But I grew up when the Clutch Cargo came out, and they make fun of some of these cartoons. But these guys went on to do stuff that's really famous, like the guy that did the Pinocchio, the New Adventures of Pinocchio. He went on to do the Santa. You know, you've seen it. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that animation thing. Yeah, he went on to do those. I think that's it. All right, that's it.